Paula, Gilbert, the editor of Connecting Africa, and we're here at Africa Tech Festival in Cape Town, and I'm here with Sitho Mdlalose, who is the CEO of Vodacom in South Africa. Sitho, it's so nice to see you.
Hey Paula, great to see you too. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Good.
So we know that SA is obviously the home market of Vodacom.
Yeah.
But now you're in 7 different markets.
Yes.
But in SA, you're still the biggest operator. So kind of how competitive is the market at the moment, and what are your key focus areas?
Look, it's a really competitive market. I think in South Africa, it's been so for a while. It's always been looked at as though they're kind of only 2 large players, but in reality, it's very broad in terms of the total market, not just the mobile market, but what I'd call the beyond mobile market in terms of everything we're doing outside of the mobile space. When you look at it that way, it's hugely competitive, and I think what we're seeing overall is we've still got good traction and good growth in things like mobile data, but ultimately we've been sort of transforming the price of data over time, and as new entrants come in, the MVNO space gets a little bit more heated and exciting and so forth. But I think for us, we still see a lot of growth in this market, and we're seeing that in our results at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So my stats from our sister company, Amidst, just in terms of like the 4G, 3G breakdown, about 54% of your customers are still using 3G in South Africa, but about 40% have moved over to 4G. There's only about 5% of the base on 2G, and then 5G is still about 1%. So I'm just interested, what are you doing to try to convert those last 2G customers and the 3G customers onto 4G and 5G services?
Yeah. So ultimately what it comes down to is device affordability. And I think there's a few things that we're doing. So firstly is working with the OEMs just on getting the right devices at the right price. That's the first element of it. I think the second part of that is still as part of the pricing is what are the commercial constructs that make it possible for someone to be able to afford a 4G or 5G device. The price point is the first, but ultimately on that you need to layer on various things that we're looking at, such as device financing. Prepaid handset financing is something we're launching fairly soon. We've been doing some trials on that, but really getting into almost like the bundle construct of how someone can buy a small bundle on a daily basis. How do I get that into a handset construct and enable people to be able to pay a small amount every day to be able to unlock the use of the handset? And so we're looking at different models such as that, but also it's about ensuring that we can ultimately the industry needs to look at the supply of 2G devices, and I think it's easy for a lot of 2G devices to be dumped into Africa, if you like, and I think there needs to be a role that the regulators play to be able to say, hey, actually, that's not good enough either, and so there needs to be an element of slowing down the supply, but at the same time making the 4G and 5G devices more affordable.
Yeah, and is there still a big focus on trying to convert more people to become data customers?
Yes, absolutely. So we have 47 million customers on our customer base, and if we look at active data users, so about 25 million active data users, about 30 million active smartphones on our network, and so ultimately we still see the ability to turn non-data users into data users just through giving them that experience of being able to use different elements that can enrich their lives. We all know the power of what connectivity brings from a data perspective, beyond just the casual WhatsApp and so forth, but it's the actual use cases of what people can do, how people can go on and look for jobs on things that they didn't have access to before, and so forth and so forth. So I think for us, we definitely still see a growth in data usage, a growth in average revenue per user as people convert to 4G and 5G devices.
Yeah, and then talking about 5G, you guys launched back in 2020. What's kind of the strategy for rollout now and growing 5G? Is there a big appetite from the consumer market, or are you seeing more that it's the enterprise customers that you're targeting?
So I think firstly from our perspective, we want to look at that as, and using that 5G layer as something of an efficiency benefits as you move from 3G to 4G and 5G, just the resources it consumes on the network. There's great kind of, let me call it, technical efficiencies for us in terms of the higher up you go on that. But that's one element. I think from a customer use perspective, what we're doing is as we roll out 4G on our 2600 spectrum, we're able to light up the network for 5G anyway. And so we're following a strategy that as we upgrade and modernize our network on 4G, we turn on 5G at minimal cost. What that does is it gives us more capacity, and as that device ecosystem grows on 5G, we're able to consume that capacity. So that would be on the mobile side for consumer customers. What it gives us the ability to do as well is to really broaden our fixed wireless access and use that layer for fixed wireless access. But again, even on that, there's a conversation around 5G fixed wireless access device prices also needing to come down over time, and I'm sure we'll see that start to happen. I think for corporates and for enterprises, small to medium enterprises, they can use that 5G layer for a lot of their own connectivity requirements where they need a little bit more kind of dedicated or higher bandwidth and so forth.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to ask you about, obviously, Vodacom's trying to buy a 30% stake in the fiber company, Massive. It's a bit tricky at the moment, right? So kind of where are we in the process with the Competition Commission, Competition Tribunal, and what's kind of the path forward for you guys at the moment?
So look, we were disappointed by the Competition Commission deciding not to recommend the deal to the tribunal. We're now in the process with the Competition Tribunal, and we are very much hoping and expectant of a different outcome on that, because we really believe genuinely that this deal is good for South Africa. When we consider what the deal is going to achieve, over and above the, call it 11 to 13 billion rand that we invest every year in capital expenditure, this would be a new commitment from Massive to do another 10 billion rand over the next 5 years. I mean, there's some strong commitments in that, a 300 million supplier development fund over a 3-year period, 1 million new homes that would be passed in lower LSM areas and connected to fiber. Over 10,000 jobs created in this economy. Everything that we look at this deal says it's really good for this country. And so we're really hopeful that as we go through the process, that becomes evident and clear, and the Competition Tribunal is able to see things that way as well.
Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about mobile financial services. It's a market that's grown a lot in South Africa over the last couple of years. I know you guys are doing pretty well in the insurance space from the recent results. But what are the other major growth areas in financial services that you guys are targeting maybe over the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, so we have, so firstly, we've got a one app strategy. So what that means is we are looking to build around Vodapay. So Vodapay is our one app, and what we're doing is we've got My Vodacom app, which existed before. We'll migrate that and continue to migrate those 4 million customers into Vodapay. And Vodapay for us becomes then the one home for where you can get all of your mobile data, etc., financial services, as well as the over 100 mini apps within Vodapay. And when we look at financial services, there's a few elements to that. The first, as you mentioned, is insurance, where we sit on over 2.5 million policies, insurance policies that we have across funeral, life, device, etc., etc. That's one element where we'll continue to grow from a financial services. The other is around savings and lending and that kind of thing, especially in small to medium enterprises, smaller loans. How can we play in that, given we've got such strong data and analytics behind most of those customers? What does that look like in terms of being able to scale that? Different elements around just the ability to do cash in and cash out through Vodapay and so forth. And I think all those kind of use cases, we see growth in terms of how that plays out in financial services for us.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sector. I love covering all the fintech things that are going on. And then obviously we can't talk about SA without talking about power issues.
Oof.
So I know it's impacting the business a lot, but since the virtual wheeling deal, what's kind of been the response from the industry, and what's the strategy there, in trying to find solutions to power problems, especially for big power suckers like telecoms operators?
Yeah, so I think lots to say on power. Let me keep that brief. I think firstly, what we've done consistently is for the past 3-4 years, we've made the decision to deliberately continue to invest in our network. We've put in over 4.5 billion rand over the past 4 years, just only on resilience. So only on batteries, generators, securing those, etc., etc. And equally looked at an overall power plan for what it looks like to cope with the grid availability, the increasingly lower grid availability. One of those elements linked to our desire to sort of, one of our purpose pillars, if I can call it that, Paula, is around the planet. And how we want to increase our consumption of green energy and renewables and our net zero targets and so forth. And so what we looked at was, with wheeling's not a new concept. Wheeling exists, and that's all fair and fine, and it's mostly in a one-to-one basis. So where someone such as a mine has an ability to put up a power plant that they need at the mine, consume what they're taking from the power plant and wheel the rest back into a grid. That's quite a simple sort of structure. The difficulty with us was the fact that we have over 15,000 sites across the country, and the question was, how do we set up the kind of self-generating or the green plants such as solar and wind, and then get that across to 15,000 locations across. And so what we required, and we worked with Eskom on, was this wheeling project to effectively, virtual wheeling, apologies, to really figure out how do we get that energy that we wheel back into the grid across. And the platform we've developed is developed by one of our subsidiaries, Mezzanine, is really a platform that allows you to sort of feed energy back into the grid and then arrange all the recons between where you're consuming it all across the network, the different times of use and so forth. It's quite complicated when you sort of see what needs to match. And so we've developed that and we've been trialing it. We've actually been running live data through that platform from our own campus in Midrand for the past 4 or 5 months or so, and that is really refined. In terms of the platform itself, it's an agnostic platform, and so therefore any corporate can log on to that and use that and be able to kind of consume and stuff. So we've seen huge interest in that, and obviously that's the one element, is the wheeling, but the other element is then tying down the agreements with the independent power producers, and then once you have that, you can obviously use this platform to be able to wheel into the grid in that way.
Okay, and then lastly, just what are the main focus areas that you're thinking about going into 2024, I would say, the major strategy for SA?
Major strategy for SA remains twofold. The first is we still see mobile as being super important to us. It's still, call it 85% of our business. And so within mobile, we see the voice revenues under pressure, and that's on the decline. That's on the decline in many aspects right across the industry. But we still see real growth in data. I mean, data traffic is up 45% year over year on our network, and so for us, that ability to continue to monetize that data traffic growth is really important, and that will remain a focus area. So the mobile part of our business is a real focus area. And then what we refer to as beyond mobile. And within beyond mobile, we've got real levers that will propel our growth within the business, such as cloud and hosting, managed services, managed security, Internet of Things, IoT, and the fixed business and so forth. So I think those different pillars of growth we expect to be growing in high double digit, and that will really help balance the business between the core fundamental part of the business, which is mobile, but also the growth levers that we have in all these different areas, both for enterprise and within enterprise for public sector. There's a lot of digitizing government that we're involved in, from agri-tech to education to health and so forth, and I think many things that we're involved in helping digitize government, but also for main corporates and cloud journeys. What does your cloud migration look like? How can we be a part of that, et cetera, and ultimately things like IoT as well. So I think we're excited about the business. We're excited about the growth that we see in the business, and I think we're clear on how we want to attack that. But I think fundamentally all of it ties back down to our purpose, which is really around connecting South Africa to a better future. And I think a lot of that is also tied into the way we connect some of the schools in rural areas and so forth, and how we're able to run some of our programs like Code Like a Girl, and that really gives us, I suppose, the excitement and the energy to see the fruit of our work.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate, but very exciting times ahead. So I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very
Excellent.
much to Sitho
Thanks.
Mdlalose, who is the CEO of Vodacom in South Africa.
Thanks, Paula.